A few years ago, I posted a video about Beyond Paint. It's an all-in-one that bonds, primes, seals. It turned out to be a very popular and controversial video. All sorts of arguments going back and forth whether this was a legit product and how it didn't fit the standards of what is known as painting, and that you have to go through the proper procedures and you can't skip any of those steps. Today, I have that very same container, and there's still some paint in it, and I got a piece of vinyl plastic. It's like a wood, you know, and 1x4. It has a plastic grain on one side, smooth on the other. So I'm going to take what's left of this and paint this board. But first, we take a look at a few of the things that we painted with this paint. This floating shelf was done with a brush, and we had excellent results with it. Of course, the infamous table that we use as a desk, and it's still looking great even today. We were so pleased with the results that we did this entire rail with the same paint. And finally, we painted this table lamp. Taking the lid off this Nantucket paint reveals, one, there isn't that much left in here, and two, what's there doesn't look all that pretty. It's still the very mild, sweet odor. There's not an odor of sourness or anything to it, but I'm going to give this a stir. In the past, there was no stirring with this, but back then it was fresh paint, and it is no longer that. So I'm going to give it a stir, and then we'll probably have to pour it into a container since this is far too deep to put a brush into. And we're just going to use a brush. We're not going to roll it on. They don't want you to brush on, but we've had some really nice results. The lamp was done that way, the floating shelf. And so I'm going to continue with that approach. The paint doesn't seem to have separated like you would get with a latex or an oil base. It just kind of made one big blob, and now I'm just mixing the blob, and I will show you what that looks like. There's the color, and if we look inside, you see there's no separation there. It's just one solid color. So, and it's kind of, I would say, a creamy consistency. And normally, if I was working with latex and it had been sitting around for a while, I would spend 15, 20 minutes stirring it up to get everything to mix out. That's not the case with this product. After pouring some of the paint into this container, just grab a brush. And just to let you know, I have not done anything with this vinyl plank. It hasn't been washed. It hasn't been sanded. Or anything. It's just, this is just the way it comes from the store. So I'm going to apply 2 coats because that's the recommended application per the manufacturer. We'll allow the first coat to dry, and then we'll come back, do a second coat, and yes, I will do the smooth side so we can have a nice comparison. You know, this paint, because it's so thick, does give you a texture, and I thank you all for all the recommendations on how to eliminate it. I think short of spraying this paint, you're going to get some texture. You can minimize it, as some of you have mentioned, with the use of different roller naps and your choice of what material that nap is made out of. So we're going to let this dry. Then we'll come back, add another coat, and we'll do the same to the smooth side. You know, I've turned the board over. I haven't cleaned this board, like I said earlier. I haven't done anything to it. It's just the way it came from the store. It's a little dirty. It's actually been sitting in the garage for a little bit. And so while the textured side dries, we'll take advantage into this side. Paint goes on smooth. I'm not seeing any lumps. Usually, you know, when I'm using old paint, you have the problem that the you get lumps, and those tend to show up. I really want to put this on thicker. Okay, we have our 2 coats on. We're going to let them dry, come back and add a second. 2 hours later, the paint is dry. Pretty much hides the fact that it's startling white. There's a little bit of streak here and there. But again, this is the first coat, and manufacturer is always recommending 2. Flip over to the textured side of this vinyl plank, and it really looks good. Well, we'll give it 1 more coat, and then we'll come back in an additional 2 hours and see what it looks like. It's been over 2 hours, and here's the look. You can see the brush strokes. So it does have a textured brushstroke to it, but we've gone from white to dark in 2 coats. Nothing's bleeding through. Let's go over to the textured side. And because the panel is textured wood grain, it's hard to make out the grooves from the brush, because it just kind of blends in. So actually that looks really nice. If I do that, I can scrape, there's maybe a few there. I can actually pull the paint off, but it's only been, you know, 2 hours since it dried, so it really hasn't bonded. The real test will be, we let this sit around for a while and come back to it after the paint's cured. Because right now, you know, you can probably erase and not take away the paint. Yeah. So we're going to let this cure a little bit, and then we'll play around and see if we can actually do some damage, because that's what you guys want me to do. It is May 31st. This was painted on 4/29, so just a little over a month. Not intentional, it's just I had other stuff to do, and so this got laid around until I could get to it. So if we look at the finish, it's very soft, satin, kind of flat image to it. This part of the PVC board has a texture to it, so it's hard to see that the paint itself has texture, but it looks nice. If you don't like grooves, then my suggestion is buy something else, or just stand further back, because if you stand further back, it just blends in. So I don't understand that critique unless you're always staring at something from a foot, foot and a half. So people want me to torture this stuff. I don't know why, because you don't torture your walls, really. But here's a little foam sanding block. So I'm just going to do that to it. Doesn't look any worse for wear. I'm going to write on it with a pencil, and then I'm going to erase it. It's got a little bit of a shine to it where the pencil eraser went over it, but the paint's fine. Got a screwdriver. There we go. We got a little paint showing through right there, just a dot. Obviously, if I stick it in and gouge, then yes, you're going to go through the paint, but that's going to happen to any paint. But that looks good. Let's try it over on the textured side, just because there are lots of bumps. maybe a little bit there and there. Let's see. Nope, the eraser doesn't lift off the paint. And my little sanding pad. No, looks fine. So, subtle torture, because again, unless you want to just gouge your walls, everything's going to fail with that. This seems pretty cool. It does, for those of you who hate texture, you can feel the texture on this material. And because it's smooth over here, but you know, it doesn't lift up. Here I am coming off the edge. So it's not like an acrylic that sometimes just forms a film over what you're painting and just peels right off. So overall, I'm impressed, still impressed, I should say, with Beyond Paint. You can't see it anymore. By the way, this color is Nantucket. This is the original paint that I used, what was like 2 years ago when I painted the desk, which we use as a table, which still looks great, as you saw earlier in the video. So I can still recommend this for, you know, all sorts of stuff. Definitely furniture, cabinets, they say countertops, you have to seal it for that, and more. People have done flooring with it. And again, for a product that's a couple of years old, I'm impressed with the fact that it didn't separate. It's just a thick kind of gel thing, and it was still usable all this time later, where usually with the latex I have to throw those out. So a bit expensive, but if you don't want to strip, sand, or prime, then this actually might be a cost advantage. Thank you for watching. Give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment. You can even leave a tip if you want, but hey, that's up to you. And as always, thank you ever so much for watching.